Alright, we're back to do a little bit more editing, and in this activity we'll take a look at the field calculator. So we've got a view again of our Finger Lakes region, and one of the questions that always comes up is who's got the bigger lake? Is Seneca Lake, which is this one here, is this larger than Cayuga, which is here? So we're going to take a look at the attribute table for the lakes. And we find there isn't a whole lot here. We could go down through and try to get an idea of what is showing up. And we have very little data. So one thing we can do is we can do a calculation. So we need to turn on the editing. You can see all of our node points light up. But we also pick up these buttons over here on the end, and this last one is the field calculator. So it looks very much like a query activity, but it gives us all kinds of operations that we can do. And I'm going to call the new field name, we'll call this area, and we'll do this as a decimal number with a precision of 1 so it doesn't get too carried away. Coming down here into the geometry, and you can see there's a number of things that we could look at. We could look at, well, we could look at the perimeter, we could look at the length, areas, and so on. So we're interested in surface area here. So double clicking, we'll take the surface area and just see what happens. Okay, so I've done this, and now if I click at the top here, I'll get a sorting by the smallest to largest. So there's smallest to largest, and here we go, and then we get Seneca Lake, and then wait a minute, there's Cayuga Lake, but then there's Seneca Lake again. So it's a little bit confusing as to what's happening here. So I'm going to just select one and see if that gives me some kind of indication as to what's happening on the map. So as I scroll down here, okay, so I can see what the problem is that Seneca Lake is not one polygon, but it's actually a number of polygons. So that's kind of a problem. So how can we compare when we'd have to add up each of the polygons? So now I'm going to go over and go by name. So I've sorted these by name, and I'll scroll down to see if I can find Seneca Lake. And we can see that there's a number here that are part of the lake. So I could maybe need to select all of these. So I'm holding the control key down and selecting those three. And now I look, and it does show, it looks like I've got the entire lake. So that's kind of a handy thing. Now, what we'd like to do is merge these guys together. And I want you to take kind of a quick look over here. We've got 86, 62, and 27. So just kind of remember those numbers right there. And under the view setting here, under toolbars, you can see we've got advanced digitizing. I'm going to turn that off, and you notice there's kind of a hole that's created here. So as I turn this back on, so this is kind of a way you can use to to kind of see where a toolbar is. So as I've turned it on, this is a new area here. So I can look down through. So there's a rotate a feature, simplify, delete apart, reshape, split a feature, which is a handy tool also, and then we have merge selected features. And then you've noticed there's also merge the attributes of selected features. So we maybe want to do both of these things, but first let's just merge the features. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of look at what we could do. And it shows the area, and then a merge here. So I may click on that. So I'm going to take the attributes from the selected feature, and let's try that because that's the merge. Okay, and you can see Seneca Lake looks a little differently now. I'm going to select a single feature, clicking in the center of Seneca Lake. I've got now the whole thing. So let's go back and look at the attribute table. And we'll sort now by area. And you can see that kind of the problem here is that the area that we got is still the 86. Remember, that was 1. So we have an incorrect calculation. So I may just want to delete that. This is deleting an entire column, so I'm going to delete the entire column there and get rid of that. So come back again and look for Cayuga Lake now, because that was the other one we wanted to check out. So I'll deselect Seneca and come back to the attribute table, and I'll sort by name, and we'll go down and look for Cayuga Lake. Whoops, it's probably up here at the top. So Cayuga Lake has 1, has 4 that represent those, and then we'll come up and merge those together. Okay, and now we can highlight there, and so we've got the entire lake now, so life is good. So we'll go to the attribute table. Okay, so there we go, and I'm going to list these by their order here, and you can see that Seneca Lake is slightly larger, so that's interesting. Now this number here is doesn't really make too much sense to me, so I don't understand really what that means. So perhaps we have a unit problem, so I need to go look at the metadata. So I'm going to go to the browser and look at Finger Lakes water, and when I look at the spatial reference system down here at the bottom, I see that the units are equal to meters. So that, I don't know if you can see that, but that's units equals meters. So there's kind of a problem there. We would rather look at it in terms of acres, because that makes kind of more sense to us. So a quick Google search will give us a conversion factor. So now what I want to do is to do another calculation, and I'm going to call this area in acres, area acre. Go to its geometry, calculate the area, and the conversion factor is 0.1230 24711. So you can see I can put an expression in here. These can be very elaborate in terms of calculations. Actually don't like the precision, so I'm going to delete it and run through it again. Area acres, decimal precision 1. And now sorting again by the acreage, we can see that Seneca Lake is a few acres more. So it's saying this is a 43,000 acres lake. And sorting, we could go down through and look at these. Now, I'd have to be careful in that some of these lakes may be actually made up of multiple polygons. When we're done here, toggle the editing and it will say, do you want to save it? And we'll say yes. And there we go.